Well, good morning and happy Easter morning to all of you. I wanted to take this opportunity to record the same message actually that I'm going to be delivering on the beach in Vancouver for those of you that are able to join us there. But I recognize that many are scattered all over in different places and you are not able to join us on the beach. And so I want to take this time to record what I'm going to say there so that you all can watch it at home and perhaps watch it with your house church. It's just a really short Easter morning reflection for all of you on the passage that you just read. So the reading today begins with Mary Magdelene crying, and she's weeping. And then a question is asked, 2 times actually, first by the angels and then by this man who's unrecognized, but we soon know him to be Jesus himself. And the question, of course, is, why are you crying? Now, we can consider Mary's crying and the question and response in 2 different ways. And the first is maybe the more obvious of the 2. In fact, it is the more obvious of the 2. The first is that, well, Mary is crying because in the past 3 days, she has encountered the absolute worst of the human experience. And now, adding to the horribleness of those days and the scenes that she's just witnessed with her beloved leader and friend Jesus, now she believes that someone has desecrated the body of her friend, stealing it from the tomb where they just had laid him. And that's why she's crying, obviously. Why are you crying? Well, plain and simple, I'm crying because of this horrible thing that's just taken place. But the question and response come from the angels and from Jesus, who of course knows something that she doesn't yet know, and that is that Jesus is alive, that he's been resurrected just like he said would happen. He's been vindicated over all of the powers that sought to see him destroyed, both human and spiritual. And now he stands before her as the world's king and Lord. And so they are asking their question almost like with a kind of a wink, from this vantage point. Why are you crying, right? And it sounds maybe like this, Mary, you don't need to cry anymore, borrowing from C.S. Lewis. Aslan, he's risen up from the stone table. The funeral dirge has become this song of joy right before your very eyes. And of course, this is the basic way that we read this Easter morning exchange. She's crying because she doesn't yet know, and yet now they're asking her this question, why are you crying? Because they are insiders to the most wonderful story that has ever been told in the world. But I think there's another way also that we need to understand this scene, which maybe adds even a further dimension to the reading. It doesn't take away anything from that, but it just adds a little bit more. So the other reading that is assigned today is from Isaiah 65. Now this is written 750 years or so before Jesus. And Isaiah looks off from that vantage point that he's in into a future time when the world would finally at last be put to right at the end of all things. And when thinking of that day, in verse 17, he says this, "See, I will create a new heaven and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come to mind. But be glad and rejoice forever in what I will create. For I will create Jerusalem to be a delight and its people a joy. I will rejoice over Jerusalem and take delight in my people. The sound of weeping and crying will be heard in it no more." Now you heard that last line, didn't you? I slowed down as I read it to kind of draw it out for us further. The sound of weeping and crying will be heard in it no more. And that's the other reason why the question was being asked on this morning. Jesus and the angels knew that on this morning, of all mornings, the hope of Isaiah's vision had now burst into the world. The day where weeping and crying would be no more was now upon them and upon Mary. And when we read the exchange then from this second vantage point with Isaiah's words in mind, it sounds more like this: Mary, why are you crying? Don't you see? This is the day that Isaiah spoke about, the day that we all have been longing for. It's here now. But of course, and I know what you're thinking, right? Isaiah's day was not here then. Not like it was intended to be anyways. Just like it's not here even now, 2,750 years later, actually, from that perspective of Isaiah. The world, of course, is full of reasons to cry. Even still, death and disease and famine and plague, they still bring us rage and woe and sorrow. And Mary, just like you and I, would go on to cry many, many more times in her life. And in the end, her body also would see decay and would die. But what Isaiah and the angels and Jesus understood was that on this glorious morning, that empty tomb was like a crack of a starter pistol that would set Isaiah's dream in motion on a collision course with the current world order. The new age that Isaiah dreamed about was now upon them. And Jesus' resurrected body, the scripture tells us, was like the first sign, the first fruit, the first example of what was soon to come. And on that morning, and on this morning, as we celebrate that morning, the angels and Jesus are inviting Mary and you and I to live right in the heart of this paradox. That while we still weep and mourn in this world, we also are hearing them ask us, why are you crying? Don't you see? The tomb is empty. Isaiah's hope is assured. Jesus is alive, and just like him, everything is going to be made new. He is risen, friends, and that changes everything. The crack of the starter pistol has gone off, and we now wait for the fulfillment of that day. He is risen. He's risen indeed. The Lord bless you.